Did you know it's possible to get a new roof for free? Well, that's actually what happened to us back in the late 2023, early 2024. So we were reached out from the North Carolina Joint Underwriting Association. They basically were saying, hey, here's a grant for a new roof, a fortified roof. And when I initially got the email, I thought it could be a scam. I wanted to look into it more. We did a lot of research and ultimately found out that it was legitimate. And so they gave us that amount, and at the time it was 6,000 for the grant. So we reached out to some of the vendors that they had on their list. We reached out to some other companies, and we were getting quotes, and some of them were a bit high. They were in like the $8, $9, $10,000 range, and we just knew at the time we just could not foot that extra difference, right? And I may have mentioned this on a previous video. I'm trying to go into a little more detail on this one now, but the following year, there was a company that we had reached out to in 2023. So this is now in 2024. And they reached back out and saying, hey, we remember that you reached out for this fortified roof quote, and we know it's for 6,000, but I don't know if you know, but the grant actually increased to $8,000. And our quote was around $8,000, and we're still willing to honor it to, for this year. And I thought to myself, wow, $8,000 grant, $8,000 quote, that could align perfectly to make really a $0 roof replacement. So now there are some layers to this, of course. So applying for the grants, you had to actually submit a lot of documentation. And then from there, the actual vendor, so the roofing company, they usually work directly with the association. And so they're able to basically connect there. And so what happened was you would think, oh, I'd have to pay $8,000 maybe like as a deposit just in case things didn't go well. And then, we're kind of at risk for that $8,000. But when I actually emailed and asked them, they came up with the answer and they said, hey, you don't have to pay us anything as like as a deposit, because we're going to do the work. And basically there's going to be someone that comes and checks periodically. And now the roof replacement didn't last that long anyway, but there are different stages that they'll come in and inspect to make sure that the roof is being replaced according to their standards, so that everything is kind of the checks and balances are there. And so we did that. And the roofing company said, hey, just as an FYI, and just so you know, if we are taking, if we're taking the shingles off and then we see underneath that there needs to be wood that needs to be replaced, we're gonna have to charge you for those planks that need to be repaired. And so I thought, okay, or replaced, I should say. And so I said, okay, no problem. And hopefully it wouldn't be many, if at all. And when it came out to it, I think it was 150 or so total dollars between, I think, two different planks. And so, the quote ended up being 8,000. So, the grant ended up paying that 8,000, but the final bill came out to 8,150 something. So we had to be responsible for that 150. So, going into this, we had an idea of maybe zero, possibly a little bit more, and it came out pretty much exactly as quoted. And so it was about $150 out of pocket for us. So we got an entire new roof, and it was a fortified roof. So they used special sealant to make sure that it was more hurricane resistant. So that really protects us. It lowers our insurance premiums a little bit to say that we have a fortified roof. So our wind and hail, I think, maybe went down a little bit, and then also just our landlord insurance, so short-term rental, went down a little bit just because we were able to say we have that fortified roof. It gives like a certificate that we can present, and so that ended up lowering our insurance premiums a little bit. It was just a free capex that we got. That normally when you have a rental property, you have to account for things like vacancy, repairs, capital expenditures, and within capital expenditures, there's things like replacing roof. At some point, even if you buy the property as a new construction, depending on what type of roof it is, 25, 30 years, whatever it might be, that that's the life of the roof. And you have to plan along the way so that when you eventually get to that 30-year mark, that it's going to need to be replaced. And so to have that taken off, that we didn't have to account for that, or that it's kind of just taken off the accounting altogether, it frees up more funds for us to pay for other things. Or if we don't have to pay for those other things, it's just more cash flow for us. So I just wanted to kind of give this PSA, because if there are programs in your area, if there's grants available in your area, I would highly recommend just checking it out, just doing some Google search. And maybe it's not even just for roofs. Maybe there's other items that you can potentially get grants for. And so this is just something that kind of fell in our laps. I mean, it was an email to us and we investigated it further. But if for some reason you're not getting those outreaches, maybe you should go and research in your market to see what is available for you to be able to hopefully take care of some of these capex. That could really be a huge savings for you. So anyway, it was a very simple process overall. It took a little bit of digging to find out the authenticity of things. But once I did figure out that it was a legitimate resource, they laid out all the steps, A to Z, what to do, how to do it. And so I hope this can be valuable for you to kind of make sure that whether you're a long-term investor, short-term investor, whatever it might be, that you can maybe take advantage of some of these programs and grants that are out there to help you as a real estate investor. and continue to grow your wealth. So follow me for more if you found this helpful, and I hope to come out with more content that can be helpful to all you real estate investors, and we can all keep striving to build that wealth for our generations to come.